Now to another topic, an exclusive story. Just 2 days ago, the Audit Office put out its report on the National Indigenous Australians Agency, known as the NIAA. It's a government-funded body, started in 2019, and it's responsible for coordinating policy development and program delivery for Indigenous people. In total, it's got a budget of around $4 billion. The report found the NIAA's frameworks for managing provider fraud and non-compliance are, and I quote, not fully fit for purpose. So just to repeat that, it found the NIAA's framework for managing provider fraud and non-compliance are not fully fit for purpose. This is deeply concerning. In 2021 to 2022, the NIAA founded more than 1,000 external providers to deliver about 1,500 Indigenous advancement strategy activities at a cost of $1 billion. And yet the Audit Office found examples of weaknesses in the design and implementation of governance and assurance mechanisms. For example, the Program Compliance and Fraud Branch did not review fraud risk assessments undertaken by business areas, and they didn't perform fraud or corruption testing as required. Furthermore, the Program Performance Delivery Group business plans did not include any assessment of risks and controls in accordance with their own guidelines, and plans left out an assessment of likelihood and consequence of risk. Since July 2020, only 7 fraud investigations were launched, with none of the 3 reviewed by auditors, including information on the cost of or timeframes by which the investigation should be managed. This is a damning report from the Audit Office, and you haven't heard a word about it in the media industry until right now. Politicians clearly, deliberately choosing not to speak about this issue. It came out 2 days ago, and I'm bringing you the news for the first time now. Now, as we gear up to vote for the Indigenous Voice to Parliament, a body that may cover some of the same ground as the NIAA, questions will now be asked about this body's fraud compliance. Joining me now is outspoken NIAA critic and leader of One Nation, Pauline Hanson. Pauline, thank you for your time tonight. What is your reaction to the results of this Audit Office report into the NIAA? And does it surprise you that while this Audit Office report came out 2 days ago, usually reports like this from the Audit Office are covered extensively by the media? It's flown under the radio. It's flown under the radar. We haven't heard a word about it.
Well, in some ways that doesn't surprise me, but I've got to say thank you very much to yourself and to Sky for actually putting me on to speak about this. Came out 2 days ago, no report about it whatsoever, nothing in the media, and we're talking about over $1 billion that was given in grants, 1,500 activity statements between 21 and 22 that haven't been, investigated. Even another thing is the Australian National Audit Office report standards. They stated that the NIAA doesn't maintain evidence of the qualifications of the investigative staff in its compliance and fraud branch. So do they have the right qualifications to actually do the job? That's one question. So the branch didn't even track or review performance measures according to the relevant Australian government investigative standards. And as you said, fraud risk assessments were out of date, missing, or did not even meet the NIAA risk management performance requirements. And I'll tell you another thing, half of the new grant opportunities since May 2022 did not have fraud risk assessments. So we're talking about departments around about $4.5 billion, but this comes under the Prime Minister and Cabinet also. Now, I've raised issues about the NIAA in the past and on the floor of Parliament. Sharri, I have actually raised about misappropriation of monies. I want accountability. I've called for audits of Aboriginal organisations. We're talking about monies that have given in grants to land councils and also there's over 3,000 corporations, Aboriginal corporations. I want to know, where has this money gone? Do we have a performance review? Do we know if we're getting value for our buck? And I don't believe that we are. And no one wants to talk about it because you're called a racist. Taxpayers should be screamed from the rooftops, and they should know where their dollars are going.